I think for us, it's that open door kind of lack of judgment. Anyone at any level of the business can pop on one day and be like, you know what, I'm just having like a few like menstrual cramps, whatever it is, not feeling it today. I'm going to stay in bed, or just got diagnosed with ADHD and I'm having a bit of a kind of meltdown, feeling a bit overwhelmed. And there's someone there underneath as like a safety net to go, right, okay, if you're feeling this way, delegate this to me. I'll take this off your hands. Keep me updated if you need anything.
Hello, I'm Kate and I am the CEO and founder of Push, and I'm so happy to see you all today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to our new series, Safe Spaces, where we ask leaders and high-profile talent and friends to let us into their safe space and help us understand how to create them both at work and at home. And a safe space is obviously a lot more than just a physical space. It can happen anywhere, at any time, between different people. And it's the kind of place where people can connect, and it allows people to ask the right questions and to feel really comfortable sharing as well. And Push is on a mission to create a hell of a lot more of them. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guest, who I think is very good at creating them, the amazing Lewis Kemp. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So I was first directed to Lewis when Push were looking for a digital marketing agency, and they were pitched by someone who recommended them, saying that they were a bullshit-free marketing agency. And I can frankly say that this was very true from the very first meeting that we had. Since then, I've followed Lewis's work like some kind of fangirl, and I've asked him on this series for two reasons. Not only because I can see that he's a genuinely brilliant leader that supports and actually leads his people, but also because he shares openly and honestly, creating truly safe spaces online. So I thought he would be perfect for this series. So hello, how are you?
What a lovely introduction. Yeah, I'm really good, thank you.
Well, if you like, from here on in, I could just like go and do your intros.
That's a job opening that we can make. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. So to kick off the safe spaces, there's a lot of stuff that I want to ask you about, how you lead and, and how you create safe spaces within work, and then obviously within the internet, the World Wide Web as well. But really, let's start off with what's been on your mind lately.
I think it's with the stage that our business is at now, it's the kind of speed and pace that it's growing at. Obviously, it's really, really good commercially, but you find yourself getting through those stages where you're sacrificing that because, the leads and the business comes in. And then the first thing to go is the kind of boundaries and mental health, and the things get sacrificed. The things that get sacrificed are the things that benefit that, like, the gym or eating well or just remembering to eat altogether. So I think it's a case of, whilst we're scaling, making sure that, number one, the team are okay with it and they're not, completely overstretched and they've got enough resource, but also for myself, because I'm, famously sometimes quite bad at, I'll put myself on the altar first and say, right, okay, if an 18-hour day needs doing, then I'll do that. I probably shouldn't be doing that.
I really get it. And I think that's really interesting, because I think, as the people that lead the business and own the business as well, right? We feel deeply passionate about it. And I think there's always that kind of toss up, isn't there, between your passion and your commitment and you're wanting it to do well versus looking after yourselves. And it's kind of like the tension between the two, which it shouldn't be like that. But of course it ends up like that, especially when you have what I call the happy problem of being really busy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it is very chicken and egg, that you're never going to get away from that point where everything's prepped, because you can go out and hire 10 more staff, but then, the leads have got to come in. So sometimes it's very reactive as to, oh God, we've got 10 people that have just come back to us from 6 months ago that are ready to start now. Now we need the staff to fulfill that. And then it's that kind of, ups and downs. So I'm trying to find that steady line that goes through the middle, and making sure those
that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. If you find that line, then tell me about it. It's really interesting, isn't it? And maybe that is just the way that it goes, right? Maybe that is something that we kind of have to see. But okay, so I think that So let's talk about what in my perspective, for all that it's worth, what makes your business really special. And probably one of the reasons why you are having this happy problem at the moment. I think, because what comes across with the work that you do, is a not only a real brilliance in delivery in terms of your craft skills, but then a real authenticity and a genuinity with you and with the people that work with you as well, by the way. And I definitely want to talk about that as well. So is that something that you set out to do when you created Lightbulb?
Yeah, it was, to be fair, because I spent time working in, other marketing roles like email marketing and telesales. And then I was the head of digital somewhere else. And what I saw all the time was the fact that we go into these rooms with these CEOs, MDs, 50, 60-year-old guys that run these companies. And then they basically then tell us how to do our jobs. But it wasn't my business at the time. So I'm kind of just getting looked at, and they're telling people that we've got a team of 7 or 8. Actually, it was just me doing all the work. And then suddenly we get lumped on with all these shit ideas that aren't going to work. But I had no voice at that point to say, like, actually, no, it should be this. And I was so tired of all that, kind of schmoozing and, not raising things when they need to be made. So I thought when I did launch Lightbulb, I thought there must be a gap in the market here to just walk in and go, right, be super, super honest. That shit, change that. What's the point in that? Move that over. Give ourselves the best foundation, cut all the bullshit out of it. And then the best way to make someone your friend is to make them loads of money. So that's the kind of approach that we took. And then obviously it's a very Marmite approach, but I mean, touch wood, a lot of people do tend to like it because the majority of the market is the opposite. It shouldn't be a USP, to be brutally honest, but in this industry, it seems to be.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And I wonder, I have 2 questions. My first one was, did you always set out to create your own business, or was it because you wanted to create something, or was it because you'd seen what was happening and you almost wanted to create something that was an antidote to it?
Yeah, I think it was probably a little bit reactionary because, as the standard kind of only child, I quite like things being done my way. And if things aren't done my way and then they're wrong, I am petty enough to say, I told you so. So I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to back myself on it. And if it goes wrong, I've got no one else to blame. And if it goes right...
Lewis, I'm an only child too. Do you think this is what it is? Like, is this like entrepreneurs are like, it's only child syndrome?
It is. This is the best way to do it. And then people are like, all right, back yourself then. Okay, I will do. And then I did it and it did work. So it's like, screw you.
There you go. I told you so.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I had no idea that this podcast, this video was going to be so like drenched in smugness. So, okay. But then, but I think you go another layer with it. And what I mean by that is that, yes, there's obviously the no bullshit when it comes to the work and the truth that you express there, but you're also very honest about other areas as well, right? And I mean, obviously we've had a number of different conversations, but I would say that I've got a pretty good grasp of the person that you are because of what you do share online. Was that something you expected to happen? Was that something you expected to be honest about? Do you think that gives you a value as well?
Yeah, I think so. I just think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I was kind of victim to that, all those smoke and mirrors, in my early 20s of believing all that nonsense, and it really puts you in a bad place, and really sets like incorrect expectations later on in life and can be so damaging. So I thought, I'm not just going to share all the highs and the amazing client wins and the results and stuff like that, because it isn't the reality of life. It's not the reality of business. It's not the reality of anything, to be honest with you. So I thought, the first port of call for someone to come and work with you or be a friend is they need to care about you and they need to like you. So they need to relate to you. And, there's no one out there that doesn't experience shit days or little bouts of imposter syndrome and things like that. So I thought, let's just blurt it all out on a page, do it consistently, and then see what happens. And eventually the right people will find you.
I love that. And I think it is so true, isn't it? Like there's a whole thing around that connection is what makes a difference. And also like my whole thing now, and I've thought about it a lot over the last year or so, and probably refined it in terms of not only my personal journey, but also the business journey as well, is that I really want my life to change others.
Yeah.
And I guess what I mean by that is that I know that I've been through a lot and I go through a lot, and actually and I choose to do that. But I think that the greatest value that I can give is then by sharing that, and telling my story so that it can hopefully make it, and I don't mean to sound so grandiose when I say that, but hopefully can make a difference at some point. But we've all got to be a bit more honest with it, right, in the first place.
We have, and I think the problem is that there are tsunamis of this, positivity and hustle porn and things like that. And I don't want, if I can save at least one person from going through that 2-3 years of believing it, not feeling like they're good enough because what they were being sold anyway was a lie, it's you start getting that comparison-itis. So I cry, it's not nice to hear, but it's the truth. Whether you choose to accept it or not, everyone will learn these lessons. It's just a case of, do you want to do it now or in 5 years down the line when you've gone completely down the wrong path and alienated all the people that are important to you? So I just try and put it out there as, no frills as possible. And some people take it, some people are delusional and don't refuse to take it, but then they'll come back in a couple of years and go, yeah, I should have listened, you were right on that.
When I talk about this term safe space, what does that actually mean to you? As in, what does that mean to you? Do you have a feeling of what that means within your business? And do you have a feeling maybe about what that means within what you're kind of creating online?
Yeah, I think for us, it's that open door kind of lack of judgment. Anyone at any level of the business can pop on one day and be like, you know what, I'm just having like a few like menstrual cramps, whatever it is, not feeling it today, I'm going to stay in bed. Or, just got diagnosed with ADHD and I'm having a bit of a kind of meltdown, feeling a bit overwhelmed. And there's someone there underneath as like a safety net to go, right, okay, if you're feeling this way, delegate this to me, I'll take this off your hands, keep me updated if you need anything, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So it's that space where you don't feel judged and you feel like you can be very, very open with the people that you're close to. That's what we try and create within the business.
And do you know what? It's so interesting. Like, we're running a webinar tomorrow, which is all going to be around this kind of new era of employee well-being. Whose responsibility is it? Now, listen, I think that leaders, managers, and employees all have a role within it, right?
Yeah.
But and I think it has to be something that we genuinely don't shy away from. And the reason for that being that, exactly like you said, a lot of times we ran a round table, and I mean, this still slightly blows my mind. A CEO actually turned around and said, do I have a responsibility? Do I really have a responsibility for creating psychologically safe space? And I'm just like, would you fucking ask the same question about a physically safe space? Do you know what I mean? Like, it slightly blows my mind, because there's two sides to this. Number one, yes, you do. And number two, there is a genuine business case for doing that. Yeah. And what you've just highlighted, I really believe that if some, I think there's something in some CEOs are a bit like, if I create this space, what's it going to unearth? I might not be able to deal with it. But actually, I think what you're talking about is that if anyone is going through any of that stuff, by being open about it, it gets dealt with rather than hanging around and becoming a bigger problem.
Yeah, and I think that's the main difference. Like, everyone talks about absenteeism, but nobody really talks about presenteeism. And if you're there and you're not feeling it, but you're still turning up and you're doing subpar work and you're not communicating that to your manager or your boss or whatever it may be, they're just looking at you thinking you've fallen off the wagon, and you're putting your own role at risk as well. But it is a joint responsibility for the people at the top to create that space for everyone else to feel comfortable in asking for that help. And I think there's going to be a big change over the next few years where if people aren't making moves to be more inclusive, they're going to see a talent vacuum, because people want to work flexibly, but they still want to feel connected and supported in the same way. So it's a difficult balance to hit.
Do you know what? I'm so pleased that you said that. Like, honestly, like the work that we're doing with clients at the moment, unbelievably, maybe not unbelievably, maybe that's a little bit unfair on my behalf, but flexible working and whatever its iteration is still like the hottest topic, right? Yeah. And I think that this is my personal opinion. Like, I think that flexible working ain't going anywhere, right? And I think it is the right thing. But I think that there is an importance in coming back into the office and being together, as much as I think there is an importance in making remote working work as well. But I think with all of it, I think that it's a human problem rather than it being a process or a framework or where people are. And I think, as you said, actually there's something in how are we getting people communicating with each other and creating these safe spaces, whether they're in the office or whether they're at home, because actually I think communication is the greatest challenge that we have to overcome when it comes to flexible working. And what I mean by that is not only making sure that you can communicate well and openly and honestly when you're not together, but actually also something around making sure you communicate better about days you're in the office, days you're not, and the role of the office and blah, blah, blah. Because there's almost like becoming like another bit that's affecting people's mental health is this resentment of, well, you're in the office that day, you've been treated like that, I haven't been treated like that. Do you know what I mean? There's just a fuckload of stuff going on. And I think that the safe space and communication is more important than ever. Do you?
Yeah, I agree. I think like I say, with our company, being a creative kind of agency, you can't really say, right, we've got a Zoom call between 10 and 11 on Tuesday and bring all your creativity to that. It isn't how creativity works. You can't schedule it. So there's massive, massive value in getting people together. But it's opening up channels as well. So obviously we can communicate like one our CRM will be through like tasks. And then we'll have a WhatsApp group, which is more kind of like joking, memes. And then Slack is more for like, instant response stuff. So there's something, it's a clear path where the boundaries aren't kind of like merged. If you need something doing, set a task up. If you want to just have a laugh and check in with people, use that. Or if you need just a quick answer to something and you can't be bothered emailing, do that. So everyone kind of knows, right, what is it I need from this person? And then you have a route to go down dependent on what you need. So it's having enough options rather than going, this is the one thing that we use, and if you don't like it, tough shit. Because that isn't really a safe space, and that's what makes people feel that kind of resentment and that lack of support, which I think is really important.
And do you think that you've created quite an open and safe space within your company? Do you think people do bring stuff, whatever it is that they're thinking or feeling? Like, would they feel open in having, I don't know, an awkward conversation, for want of a better way of putting it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's our team's predominantly women as well. So we're always like, even if we're in the office, we're always having kind of like quite open chats about things. And then when we have like catch-up calls with each other, yes, we'll talk about business, but we'll also talk about, just generally how people are doing. Is there anything else that we can do to support each other? And that has to come from me as well. Do you know what I mean? I can't stand there being stoic and pretending that nothing ever goes wrong in life. They know when I'm stressed. And that's when you'd usually just get like a coffee or a glass of water just slid onto the desk, or you haven't drank anything today.
I love that.
So it's like super nice that everyone's kind of so responsive, and you can kind of get a vibe of when someone isn't doing too well.
I love that. Well, on which note then, I suppose my question then is, how does talking to others help you? And what I mean by that is, not only have you become more open, maybe since you've had the business? So there's two parts. It's like talking with your team and stuff like that. But then specifically after that, I'd like to know how talking and being honest online has helped you. So let's talk about have you become more open since you've had the business because you're talking more to the team, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the start, when it was just me running around trying to do everything and wear every single hat.
Those days.
Plus being an only child and wanting everything done my way. Plus then obviously being autistic, but not knowing about it and having very, very specific procedures, I found it very, very hard to kind of delegate initially. I was like, oh, well, there's no point you doing that because I can just do it, twice as fast and 4 times better. So I would really struggle with that. And then literally I started like giving a few tasks away here and there, and they were just getting done better. And you could feel like the physical weight lifted off. So now I'm much more comfortable if something comes in and going, right, boom, you're doing that. Okay, boom, you're doing that. And it is that physical weight that you can feel where you notice it. So I think it's super, super important to be able to do that with confidence. And I think for me, it's just because I've got trust issues as well. It takes a while. And if you give someone a task and then they nail it and they nail it 5 times and you're like, what on earth was I doing? So now that you don't worry about it, you're not like, oh God, I wonder if they're going to do that. Okay. Once that trust has been built, and I think it's the same with like the work from anywhere. One of our team has just been to Amsterdam. Now she's in Copenhagen. She's just doing like traveling and digital nomading around Europe. But the work gets done. So the trust is there. I know that whatever schedule she wants to work to, it's going to get done. And it is just that open communication again that we go back to.
Yeah. And are you and then are you happy talking about yourself? Are you comfortable being uncomfortable? Are you comfortable being quite vulnerable with your team as well about stuff that's going on for you, maybe even beyond business stuff as well, about how you're really feeling? Are you comfortable about doing that with your team?
Yeah, I mean, we're all quite open about kind of, because one of us found out that they were ADHD and another one found out, well, I found out that I was autistic as well. And everyone's really, really comfortable kind of talking about that. And then the kind of little quirks that all start to kind of make sense a little bit more now. But yeah, I'm super comfortable. I'll come in and be like, look, I've had a shit weekend, or like, I've not really slept, or I'm just like super swamped at the moment. So if anyone's got any spare time or whatever, then we can share the workload out.
You feel comfortable being vulnerable online?
Yeah, I'm cool with it, to be honest with you. Because at the end of the day, I know how human beings work, and whatever you say online, if you say, oh, puppies are nice, there's going to be thousands of people that disagree with that. So at the end of the day, you just got to put yourself out there, haven't you? Because it is,
for the love of God, how?
Yeah, it's a disqualifier at the end of the day. So I think, go out there, be yourself, and it should scare away the knobs that you don't want to work with and that aren't your people. It's the best way to do it, because there's nothing I want less than having 50 leads coming in a week, and I've got to go and take them for an £8.50 Starbucks to find out they're a bell end. So I'd rather just scare people off as soon as possible, just by being who I really am, which is sometimes a bit of a knob.
Do you find that actually by sharing like that online, has that had an influence on how you feel? I mean, not only obviously it's had an influence in terms of your business and how that's grown, but has it influenced how you feel on a day-to-day basis? Like, would you say it's had a positive impact? Has there been negatives about it as well? I mean, you sound like you're pretty strong in that. Now, for me, I'm a proper little people pleaser and little anxious bear. So, if people weren't liking it, I'd be like, oh my God, they don't like me. Whereas you sound quite strong in that. And that would affect my feelings, making them more negative. It sounds like actually it's had a positive influence to you. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm delusional. What I say, I just go, yeah, this is the right way. I'm a people pleaser, but only with people that I care about. If you have no effect on me and you're not my friend and you ain't going to pay my bills, I really don't give two shits what you think about what I post or who I am or anything like that. You have literally no relevance to my life. So, get angry, but make sure you do it under my post so I can get the engagement and boost it in front of more people. Like, love me, hate me, just don't ignore me, because then that's what fuels the business. So it's part of a wider strategy. But yeah, it's kind of like just an open diary at the end of the day.
And is there anything that you wouldn't feel comfortable sharing about?
I think I'm quite compartmentalized about like my life. So, there are certain things that I'll post on there, which are usually kind of like work related and work experiences. But for me, I'm a very, very private person. Like, it sounds a bit daft as the owner of a marketing agency, but I don't have social media other than LinkedIn.
Really?
Yeah, no,
Stop.
It's poison. Once you work in it long enough, why would you spend 10 hours on it all day and then go home and pick up your phone and start doing scrolling?
Right,
so it's so I'm very, very private as far as kind of what I do with my friends, and then also kind of like my love life and relationships as well, because I think once you start merging those boxes, it's a recipe for disaster. So maybe that is the autism of just going, you're in this box, you're in this box, you're in this box. And I don't let them merge too much.
I suppose that my questions are about you in terms of, working in social media as you do, or digital marketing, but I'm thinking specifically about LinkedIn. How do you protect yourself? Because I suppose, as you said, it can be quite toxic, right? Yeah. So how do you look after yourself within that and keep yourself safe?
For me, like, because I'm just quite a petty man, I'm very, very confident in my own ability, particularly when it comes to like copywriting and things like that. So whereas other people kind of say like, ignore and block the trolls, I prefer kind of like publicly humiliating themselves so that everyone can then see what kind of person they are. So I will always put out a little bit of bait and get the hook, but that's because it's what I enjoy. I'm a very much a Schadenfreude person, where I will linguistically just, destroy someone and then make them feel super stupid so that they don't then go and do it again, because that's the problem. Once one troll comes in, it opens the door for other ones. So I think if you can get absolutely lambasted on it, it'll make you stop and think the next time you go and try and leave a nasty comment on, some young person's post, thinking that it makes you Billy Big Bollocks, because there are people out there that will take you down. So I think blocking and ignoring doesn't actually stop the problem.
That's interesting.
It just passes it on to someone else.
And how do you look after yourself? How do you take care of yourself, I guess? How do you do you have a routine, especially with the autism and stuff like that? How do you manage that? So I suppose there's two questions there, isn't there? There's one that's more like a self-care one, and then one specifically that's around that. Yeah,
it's an ongoing thing that I try and improve all the time, but obviously for me, like, routine is super important. So like getting up early, making sure that you're getting the gym done and out of the way early doors. If you get up at 6:30, boom, in, out, and then by the time you get home and you change for 8 o'clock, you're kind of ready for the day. Meal prepping as well, just because I've been known to, when I'm focused on a task, my head doesn't come up and it's just boom, 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 boom. So if that's not ready, I look at it and I go, well, what I used to do is go, oh, there's nothing in the house. So then you go and spend 20 quid on a Deliveroo, which is usually not the best food as well. So then you start, if you're working really hard, you skip the gym and you're eating 2 Deliveroos a day, you just get into a cycle of shite. Feeling terrible, producing bad work. So I think if you can just make that first kind of 2 or 3 hours of your day really kind of impactful and set you up right, then it kind of makes the rest of the day better. And I've noticed that, like, it's so simple as well, because it is just like simple kind of hormones. I can think a problem is the end of the world, like the end of, oh my God, it's all going to fail. And then I'll go to the gym for an hour and I'll come back and I'll go, oh, I just needed to do that and that. I've really realized this since leading the business, right? That actually my morning routine, my walk, my speaking to my therapist, doing my coaching session, blah, 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 those are as crucial to my work life as doing a proposal or writing a talk. Do you know what I mean? Like, they are genuinely the things that make me good at what I do. Yeah, they are the productivity kind of like hacks. Otherwise you do just churn out kind of mediocre stuff and find yourself procrastinating because you don't actually feel fully invested in what you're doing. So it's those little bursts, I think, breaking it down into kind of manageable chunks and rewarding yourself at regular intervals, rather than just head down all day, don't eat, don't move. You fall out of love with what you're doing then, so you need to break it up and reward yourself. It's just that simple kind of Maslowian thing of do good thing, have a biscuit, but just breaking it out into business. Yeah, no, I get it. Well, on that note then, my last question for you is, if you had to give one tip, like, so if we're creating a safe space here, if you were to give one piece of advice or one tip to anyone who's thinking about starting their business or wanting to make their work better, what is the one thing that you would recommend that is going to make either a business better or their day-to-day better or their work better? What is the piece of advice you would share? I think feedback's the most important thing. You can't surround yourself with kind of yes people. So I would always put systems in place. And if you want to make it, truly kind of, you can anonymize this feedback all the time and be doing regular feedback, monthly and quarterly on all the questions that are important to the growth of that business. And then genuinely look at it with no judgment. They're not out to get you. If they say a system could be improved, or, this, I'm feeling a little bit shitty and I didn't have the support systems in place, address that, because that first-hand feedback is the thing that will improve your business. If you are trying to build a team, you have to look after the people that are running that business for you. But Lewis, I mean, that for me is the essence of a safe space, right? Yeah. It's the fact that actually, you as a leader are understanding the importance of feedback, not fearing it, encouraging it from your team, and then you're working with a team then who are courageous enough to speak up, and know that they are safe to do that. And between you, the other massive part of creating that safe space is that it's not seeing things as failure, right? It's just like, okay, well, this was a stepping stone. This was a step in the process of creating whatever it is that we're creating, which is so fundamental and crucial, I think, to growing our businesses in the way that they need to grow and the pace that they need to grow, rather than
doing stuff as it's always been done, just because we're a bit scared of what might go wrong, or what we might hear if it doesn't work, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much easier to do it at the start as well. If you've got like 10 people and everyone represents 10% of that culture, then, you know, by the time you get to 30 or 40, everyone coming into the business looks at that core 10 who've set it up in that way, and then they will replicate them. So I think get it done as soon as possible. And if you've got 3 or 4 people, you know, it doesn't matter. Build the foundations properly. And then it will make kind of like hiring and growth so much easier long term.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oh, Lewis, I've loved this. What a useful session. I think anyone that listening to it will find it of really great value. So thank you so much for your time. It was nothing, as expected, nothing short of a joy.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You're really welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon.